Hey guys, I have a little size comparison to do for you today between four knives here. And the reason that we're doing this video is these four particular knives, as well as one other knife that's not really available on the market so much anymore, get lumped in together as looking like each other because they're all fairly unique. They all have a tall blade profile and similar overall balance. Now, they all often get to some degree attributed to the Ultimate Survival Tips MSK1. This is the original one that I reviewed in all of its hollow ground goodness here. But what I want to do here is show you guys these knives side by side, because although the ratio of their dimensions might look similar online, when you see them in video next to each other, I think that you will see how much different they are. And if you can get them in hand, there will be no question in your mind how different they are. I also want to mention that there's not many knives like this on the market, again, so they get kind of clumped in together. However, if you take any four Bowie knives of similar dimension and put them next together from any custom maker or production manufacturer, they will probably have more in common with each other than these knives do. So the knives in question, if you have not already guessed, the Ka-Bar Warthog, the Ultimate Survival Tips MSK1, the Half-Breed Blades large bush knife, and my own knife, the Workhorse from Xk&t Knife and Tool. Now, my knife, the Workhorse from Xk&t Knife and Tool, my original knives that I brought to market, I did so in about 2015. I'll put a link to one of my adventures from 8 years ago up here. So already a lot of people are like, wow, that Workhorse, now that I'm re-releasing it, that Workhorse looks a lot like an MSK1. The reality is, the MSK1, if that were the case, would look a lot like the Workhorse, and the Ka-Bar Warthog came before all of them. I reached out to Ka-Bar to ask them when the Warthog came out. I remember the design from being a kid. Obviously, they haven't gotten back to me. Anyways, let's go right into this comparison. Hey guys, I'm Jacob. You're watching the Prepper's Bunker Outdoors. Thank you for tuning in. This month's sponsor, the month of June, is Spirit of the Bear Blades. Michael Spaniers does absolutely fantastic custom leather work. He's one of my go-to guys, not because he's cheap, not because of anything else, except for the fact that his work is absolutely fantastic. Make sure to check him out. His links will be at the top of the description box below. Below that, you will see my links of how you can support this channel through my knife brand, Xk&t Knife and Tool, my rifle sling brand and custom nylon gear brand, Beach and Tactical, and also I have affiliate links to include Kentuckiana Gunworks. Use the coupon code listed below for a discount. It's the only gun oil and grease that I use. Let's get you right back to the content. All right, so here they are, side by side. This is not going to completely do them justice, but we'll get to that here in just a second. So when I first reviewed the Ultimate Survival Tips MSK1, a lot of people said that it looked like the Ka-Bar Warthog, or that it looked like the Scar Blades Papa Bear, which no longer exists. It was manufactured by Tops, as I understand it, or some guys that used to work at Tops. It was very Tops-ish. I'm a little fuzzy on that. I don't think they're around very long. I'm not really up to speed. Anyways, in hand, we've got some massive differences here, guys. Although maybe to some degree, I would say we certainly have some overlap in intended use. So starting off here, I'm sure that Half-Breed Blades is a little bit tired of hearing about this, since I've seen the comments in my videos for them as well. We have they're both a 1/4 inch thick. This iteration on the MSK1 was D2. I believe the new ones are 154 cm. I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong there. The LBK is D2. I'm not sure. I believe future ones might be 3V. Don't quote me there. So dimensionally relatively similar. Now let me tell you where these two knives are separated the most. Firstly, handle feel. So the scales on the MSK1, and let me just say, like, I gave Dave an awfully hard time on this knife because of how he advertised it. The price is really subjective, and I realized firsthand how hard price points are to hit, but he did a lot of great things with the knife. He just oversold it, and I hate overselling. But one of the cool things he did, these handle screws are freaking way cool. But what we have here, we don't even have a sharp spine here. What the heck did he have for a ferro rod? Is this a joke? Oh, pommel ferro. Okay. I thought for sure he had a sharp spine. Okay, so we've got more square scales here that are not as wide. So your feeling in hand is, you know, I believe this is a $400 or $500 knife. Your feeling in hand is much more similar to a stock standard Essie with the old school scales. Definitely hot spots all along the back side here, and a little bit on the front side as well. Not terrible. They don't feel, they're just basic, right? Nothing wrong with them. They're just basic. The large bush knife, the shape of the handle and the thickness of the scales helps it a lot. So although the scales are not necessarily much more rounded, I believe they're a bit more rounded, but they're not much more rounded, but they come down from the spine a little bit, so you'll see the spine is proud, and the feeling in the hand is quite a bit better. And with the G10 as opposed to my Micarta without the grooves or anything like that, it's a very different feeling knife in hand. Grinds are just completely different. This is a fairly low grind on the large bush knife. This bush knife, by the way, has already been through all kinds of heck, but we've got a fairly low grind here, which is already always hard to focus on. Good edge thickness. It's not a thick edge. We do have two holes in here. We do have similarities, guys, but you have a really stout edge here. Tip, I'm sorry. MSK1, you've got a much higher grind. On this one, it is hollow ground as well. Edge thickness, I talked a lot about it being thicker than I wanted before. It's not, now at this point, it's not the end of the world. It's not the worst. I still think it could be thinner for the size of the knife and for the overall design, but it's a lighter feeling knife. With that higher grind and the skeletonization that they have, the way that they have it set up with the Micarta, it's a lighter feeling knife. So we have edge geometry, blade geometry, handle geometry. We've got a lot of differences, but I can see where these two knives would in fact be cross-shopped. They both sell at a premium price market and have intended uses that I believe are quite similar. They both have ferro strikers in the pommel. On the MSK1, it's on the front. On the half-breed, it's on the back. Lanyard position is different. Again, your sizes might be similar, but you could take any two Pucos that are of similar size or any two Bowies, and they would probably have more in common than these two knives. And of course, we've got this cool fuller as well. All right, on to the Warthog. For all of the people that said that the MSK1 just looked like a Warthog, again, we have considerable differences here in every dimension, more so even than the LBK and the MSK1. We've got a hollow ground top swedge that swoops down here. I don't know why. It's kind of cool. I don't know that it's practical, but it is kind of cool. We've got a higher actual flat grind SK5 steel, so like a 1080 series steel, made in Taiwan. Big old rounded Grivery handle scale, not handle scales, handle, since it's Grivery. Hidden tang. Considerably different. Nowhere to strike a ferro rod. This is hardened to like 52 to 54 HRC, so I like this design quite a bit, although I'd like to change some things on it. But it's too doggone soft. It gets dull really awfully quick. I really wish that K-Bar would bring this knife back from overseas, because I think it's a pretty cool knife. And where the MSK1, I believe, is a 1/4 inch thick, I believe, I might be wrong here as a YouTube guy, I believe the Warthog is 3/16. It looks like a 1/4. I think it's a 1/4. They're both a 1/4, but very different. In hand, weight distribution is massively different. Edge geometry, they're just, it would be, I think, dishonest to say that you believed that the MSK1 was ripping off the Warthog if you'd ever held the MSK1. And now to the Exodus Knife and Tool Workhorse, where to begin. My handle is canted. I want to give more chopping power, considerably longer, double the weight. One of the things he advertised is, at 1/4 inch thick. It's one of the thickest knives available on the market. And D2, one of the toughest steels. Okay. Well, the Workhorse, this iteration is made by Bear Force Knives, and we're only doing 20 of these knives. I'll probably do more in the future. Maybe someday I'll bring these into full production. But this is 1084, which as a steel is twice as tough, I believe, give or take, as D2. And we have another big difference here, where he advertises that as one of the thickest knives available on the market, where the reality is it's literally a standard thickness knife. The Workhorse here, she's actually one of the thickest knives available on the market, especially from American manufacturer, at 0.391 of an inch. Holy guacamole, you know you're holding something when you hold this knife. Still have the forge scale left on the blade, or I should say, I forget. I'm just gonna say forge scale. I forget. This is vintage micarta. The other ones will be a different vintage micarta than this. But anyways, look at the, we have a relatively thick edge, thicker than the MSK1, thicker than any of these knives on here. It's more appropriate on this knife because of the absolute girth and weight of the knife. But then we also thicken out to the tip. Golly, which there's no comparison here. I need to get this on the, I mean, Jiminy Cricket, guys. One of the thickest knives available on the market, yeah. Anyways. So, I believe that the Workhorse and the MSK1 have the least in common of any of the knives out here on the table. However, I'm sure that I will hear the most about the MSK1 because I'm the one who reviewed it, and that's what a lot of y'all used to know me for. I do want to add that the jimping near the tip here was my buddy Phil's idea. I'm gonna link his I'm gonna put his Instagram and text in here. And this is to grab the baton when you're using an absolute monster of a baton at the absolute limit of the length of the knife and you're just wailing on it, that is to give you a little bit of extra traction to get your baton, instead of rotating or slipping off, to grab, bite, and punch through that wood. Thank you, my brother up north, for the idea. Other than that, this is a very accurate reproduction of the original workhorse that I released 8 years ago or 9 years ago, except better in every way. Anyways, there you go, dudes. I just want to add into here real quick also, the large bush knife has more of a downswept handle by a degree, and to the eye it's a little harder to see, but if you're looking at the line of these edges to the line of the handle, I do believe you get a little bit more and a little bit more with the large bush knife, and you feel that when you're doing some hard work with these two knives side by side.